Hey everybody, Ted back today with another video, and today I'm talking about the Samyang 50mm 1.4 for Sony mount cameras. This lens has been out for about 4 or 5 years now, and it's received several firmware upgrades that have really made a difference in its performance. I'm going to take it through its paces today here in Monroe, Georgia, paired with the Sony A7C, and let's see if this lens matches up to what our expectations are. It's a bit hefty, but I think we can do it. Let's go. Okay, the specs on the Samyang 50 1.4 are maximum aperture of 1.4, minimum aperture of f/16. You've got 9 diaphragm blades. You've got no weather sealing. The lens weighs in at 1.29 pounds and it has a minimum focusing distance of 1.48 feet or 45 centimeters. The real thing that you're going to want to know about this lens is how fast it focuses. So we're going to take it out and about, do some tests, let you see how it performs on the Sony A7C. One thing you'll notice about the Samyang 50 1.4, it's very minimalist in its design. There's no aperture ring, no external controls, no manual focus, autofocus switch. Very simplistic in its design. Now obviously with this lens size and weight, it's not going to be an ideal walk-around lens unless you're really willing to give up weight and size for that extra stop of light at 1.4. It's very slow to focus, even with the recent firmware upgrades. You've got nine elements in 8 groups, so you've got a lot of glass moving as you're trying to focus, so don't expect that this would be something that you would use for street photography or anything quick like that. Its primary application would probably be a wedding or portraiture. I really wouldn't use it in any situation where time is of the essence and you have to get your shot quickly, because quite frequently you'll be framing your shot and you'll go to focus and it'll take a second. So it's not quick at all. But if you're willing to put up with that, you get some really creamy bokeh out of this at f1.4. And the lens has a character that is very unique and quite appealing. So take a look at the shots I'm going to show you now and let me know what you think down below in the comments. Okay, so you can see here that at f1.4 we've got significant purple fringing, aka chromatic aberration, and as we stop down to f1.8 it's still present. It's a little bit better, but not a whole lot. As we get to 2.8 it's improved slightly, but it's still there. At f5.6 it's pretty close to being gone, just a few bits and pieces here. And by the time you get to f8, it seems to have cleared up entirely. So keep that in mind. Chromatic aberration is quite prevalent on this lens, and it's something you'll just need to keep in mind. Okay, let's take a look at how stills look when you're trying to focus between objects. You see here that it's not too bad. It hesitates at some points, but in this room where it's not particularly bright, it does lock focus pretty quickly. most of the time. And now let's take a look at how this performs. The focus motors are quite noisy, and if you're not worried about that sound, if you're not using the audio from the camera, then it's not too bad. It does switch between the two items fairly well. Okay, so let's wrap up this review of the Samyang 50mm 1.4 for Sony E-mount cameras. So again, lens has a nice build to it. It's metal exterior. It's not weather sealed, so don't expect that going in. It has a very bulbous 67mm filter thread, which you kind of expect for a lens of this speed. This lens is 5 years old, and it came out in the summer of 2016. It's had many firmware updates since then, the latest being version 33, which came out in February of 2020. However, keep in mind that if you expect to apply firmware updates to this, you will need the Samyang lens dock for the Sony camera, and that costs about $50. So you're adding another $50 on top of the lens. Still, even at $450 for the combo, it's a great bargain. Portraits is really where I think this lens would shine. It's got a great character to it. At 1.4, you get some nice creamy bokeh, but you get a really, really sharp picture in the center. Your corners don't really start to sharpen up until you get around f5.6, so keep that in mind. This lens's competition, really, at about $950, you have the Sigma Art Lens 51.4 for Sony. That's a great lens, but it's more than twice the price. And Sony's own lens, the Zeiss 50mm 1.4, cost over 3 times the price of this. So at $450 with the dock, you're getting a great lens at a great bargain. Just temper your expectations, and you shouldn't be disappointed. Well, that's it for me. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please click subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.